Good to get started. Carolyn, can you? Oh,
Can you hear me?
yeah, and I think all your audio just came in like really quickly. Okay, you're good now.
Oh, okay. Anyway, this is Carolyn from Bridge. I appreciate you guys taking the time to hop on this call today. Really what I want to talk to you about is everything that happens behind the scenes once we receive an order. All moving parts that are involved, the steps we have to go through before we can actually launch a campaign. I think this will also help you better understand our turnaround times and why we have specific turnaround times in place and why we can't always just run through all the steps to get a campaign live. I totally understand that when you close a sale, especially if it's your first sale or if it's for a really big opportunity and you really want to impress your client, that you're just so excited and you wanted to get it live as quickly as possible. We totally get it, but we also just want to make sure that you and everything we have to do in the time that we receive the order from you and when we can launch, so that you understand the process and you understand why it's important to our time sometimes and make sure that we're actually crossing our T's and dotting our I's before just hitting delay and hoping for the best. Also, really just wanted to tell you all that we at Bridge, you are doing such a fantastic job. I really wanted to make sure I mentioned this today. I think, consider that we're only about 6 months in, and the activity we've been seeing lately, the campaigns that are closing, the pitches that you're going on, the amount of proposals you're requesting. I mean, seeing all this activity, we're totally acknowledging it, and we could not be happier with the direction that we're moving in. And I think Cumulus, as I travel to some of the different markets, every while people make a comment that he was a little late getting started in terms of digital, but honestly, I think for a reason, and I think you guys are totally becoming a very fierce competitor, especially in the radio industry, in terms of digital advertising. So you all should be really proud of yourselves and just doing an awesome job. So keep it up and stay involved. One other thing before I jump into the creative process, I know that we've talked about this in the past, and a lot of you are probably tired of hearing about it. Questions, and there seems to be some confusion on who to reach out to for certain things at Bridge. And so I want to simplify it for you. And really, there's just 2 email addresses that you need to remember. And the first email address is your market director. So it could be me, carolyn.cope@thebridgecorp.com. It could be Mike Martin. It could be Mike Scala, Kevin. It could be Jeff. Each has its own designated account director. So you basically need to know that person's email address. And you also need to know your market's distro list. That could be Cumulus, the name of it, at thebridgecorp.com. So as an example, Cumulus Bridgeport at thebridgecorp.com. Cumulus Nashville at thebridgecorp.com, Cumulus Detroit, Cumulus DC. The only 2 email addresses you need to remember. And I know that you might be receiving emails from people like Daniel or Nico or Chris or Adam. Those people are all on the distro list and they'll work together as a group. So as long as you just send the email to the distro list, it's going to get to the right person. Especially if there's more than one person working on your campaign or working with your market, going to be involved. So if you could just remember to just email the entire group, that'd be great. And I broke further here. The way I like to remember who to reach out to is if it's anything before the campaign is launched, director. That we're here for. We're here for training, market visits, client presentations, conference calls, screen shares. If you need proposals, sales stints, brainstorming sessions, if you have product questions, screen questions, if you need hard cost confirmation, those are all the things that you should pull your account director for. Aside counts, that's really the pre-launching that you would need to go to the distro list for. So the distro list is how many people are in the target audience that fit your client's description, contain examples, data proofs, and approvals. So after you submit your order, we design the email proof and the ban proofs. If you need to get an update on the campaign launch process, Facebook requests, the pick that we'll place, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. If you need more match reports or any campaign updates after it's live, that's really where you should go to your distro list. They are the operational team that basically works on launching your campaign, managing it, and optimizing it. So feel free to just email both people, send an email to your account director, and then copy the distro list, and that way you don't have to worry about it. But hopefully this adds a little bit of clarity.
Continue. I got one comment saying that they can't hear you. I mailed them too just in case they can't hear me, but just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm going to tell them to just call in and out, and maybe hopefully that works. And hopefully we don't get any more comments about these things. I can hear you though, so I think like your audio speeds up a little bit, so that might be the problem.
Okay. I just text from the DC market saying that they can't hear. Is that the same market that chatted you?
I'm going to email now and try to figure it out with them.
Okay. Anybody else has any questions? Send me a text so that I can serve it.
Okay.
So what happens after we submit an order? First, congrats sale. That's awesome that you closed a campaign, and we're so psyched, and we honestly do everything that we can to set the campaign up as quickly as possible so that it's going to work to the abilities. The first thing that we do is once we receive the order, we begin the campaign process. So typically email proof, if email is included in your campaign, that's the first thing that we start working on. Then we do the email proof first is usually the BAM ads, channel ads, look similar to the email proof. So we make sure that the email is exactly what the client wants before our time to design, 15 ad units, because the client requests any changes. And as far as the email, it's very quick and easy for us to go back and make those changes instead of having to go back and make changes to 15 different things. So we always do the email first, and the proof typically takes between 2 to 4 days. We then email the proof to the sales rep or to whoever submitted the order, and it's sent to you as an attachment in an email. It's basically just a JPEG file. So if you look at the image, this is exactly what it looks like when we send you the proof. And we'll actually tell you, hey, this is the proof. Please let us know if it's approved. Thanks. So it's a pretty process, but I want to make sure that everybody's clear on what to expect. To submit the order after about 2 days, keep an eye out for that email. If requests edit, I would say try expectation that it could take about 24 hours for each edit request. So please give us a day to turn those around. Sometimes we'll get somebody that sends over edit requests at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they ask us to send back the revised proof before the end of the day. And that can be tough sometimes. So please trust 24 hours to do all the edit requests. A new proof is the same way as email attachment and we'll keep going back and forth until the email proof is approved by your client. Proof is approved, we will begin working on the banner ads. So that's conditional 1 to 2 days. Usually it just takes us a day, but if you're working with your client about turnaround times, I would say it could take 1 to 2 days, depending on what the creative is and how many ads we have to design. And that as an email. So we never launch anything until it's totally approved by your client. So again, the first step is the email, that gets approved, then we work on the banner ads, we send those, and those can get approved as well. At that though, we'll begin adding the links to email that was approved. Sometimes there could be only links to one thing. You click on the email and it takes you to the client's website. But in some cases, you can have multiple different links in the same email. You could have 20 links. So, and we've done that before for some clients. If you have different sections on the website that you want people to go to, depending on where they click, we have to add all of that in. And then send you an email test. So that's like the second proof. So I just want to understand that this is not the final step. Just because you approve this, that doesn't mean we can launch tomorrow. There's still a lot of other steps that have to happen. And the next one is the email test. And we will send this like actual live email. The only difference is you'll notice in the subject line, it'll actually say test. So that was the email test. If you look up here in this article, it'll say test. First, get free 40% smart TV or free inch smart TV with window purchase. So it's a test, and the purpose of this one is to go through and actually check all of the links and ensure that when you click on that section of the email, it actually takes the consumer to the correct section of the website. So we want, as the salesperson, to actually forward this to your client and ask your client to make sure all the links are correct. And when that is approved, then on to the next step. The next, we code the email. So we get a lot of questions about coding and what it is, and if it's something that is just for email, or if we also have to do coding for a banner campaign. Coding is only something that happens with email. So if a campaign does not include email, you do not charge your client for coding fee, and there is no coding involved. Basically, an email program out there, like Gmail, Hotmail, AOL, Yahoo, Comcast, Outlook, all of those email programs use different software. So your emails display correctly on all of those different platforms and all the different devices, like smartphones, tablets, laptops, desktops, iPhones, all of those things, we apply HTML coding to the email. And basically, we'll just make sure that it'll look correctly whenever a consumer is looking at it on any program and on any device. And it takes 1 to 2 days. So we can't deploy immediately after the proof is approved, because now we have to do this as well. Once we wait, then we can launch. But if your campaign includes social media ads in the multi-channel piece, this is one more final step. While designing the banner ads, we are sending a Facebook advertiser request to your client's Facebook page. And that's why we always ask for the Facebook URL in the order forms, in the insertion order. And then I send a request to that Facebook account. And basically what that request is doing is it's just asking your client for us to advertise on their behalf. So we send that request to your client's Facebook page, and then we will email you a attachment that you just need to forward to your client, and it has very simple instructions on how to accept our request. So it's basically, once you send us the paperwork or insertion order, you can have to keep an eye out for 4 different things. The thing is the email proof, which will come as a JPEG email attachment. Then eye out for the banner ad proof, which will also come as just an email attachment. Then the test, and then the Facebook advertiser request. So there's things you need to keep an eye out for before we can go launch. But once all of that is done, we're ready to go, and we can deploy your campaign. So clarify things. It's not that we're trying to be difficult when we tell you that it's a 5-day turnaround from when we receive the order to when we can actually launch it. It's just a lot of steps involved for us to set up the campaign correctly and double check our work to make sure that everything is set up perfectly and that we can move on to a successful campaign. So here might delay the process. One, and this is actually a huge one, if we can avoid it, great, but we totally understand. I bet a lot of times your clients will send you bits into the campaign and you're just forwarding it to us as it comes to you. So we totally understand, but that sometimes can slow down the process because they kind of try to piece it together and dig through all our emails and make sure we've got everything together. And it can be a little bit time consuming to do that. So that might slow down the process even more. So if you can, it's better to just wait until you collect everything from your client and then send it to us all at once. So sure that you have, creative assets, the logos, the images that they want to include. Make sure you have a full understanding of what they want the creative to look like. Make sure you preference on the subject line, what the is, what the pages are, the start end date, the different channels that are involved. Try to get all that information together before you submit your order, because that'll make it very, very easy for us to then put the campaign together. Another way the process is not being clear in your creative request. So in our creative portal now, which is fantastic, but try to remember that our designers, they haven't met your client and they were not involved when you pitched the product to them or when your client signed off on the campaign. So they have no prior knowledge to what your client is expecting, what the campaign is all about, what you talked about in your meeting. So they kind of approach this completely blind. So if you can, include as much information as possible when you're communicating what the gift should look like. And try to ask your client ahead of time if there's something that they want to see. If they have a specific theme or layout that they have in mind, or if they really have an image of what they want that email to look like, try to get that information ahead of time, because fewer times that we have to go back and forth getting proofs approved, it'll speed up the process an amount. That's probably the biggest hurdle for us in terms of getting things launched quickly, is going back and forth making changes with the proofs. And then the third, to resend you the email proof, try all edit requests at once. So an email from the rep saying, hey, can you just make this real quick before I send it to my client for approval? Or, hey, I noticed a quick typo, or I noticed that this color is off, or you didn't include this little piece. Can you change this first? Can do that, but the more times we have to go back and forth making tiny changes, it is very time consuming to do that. So if you can, get all of the changes at once, send them all to us in a big email or on one phone call, and that we can just do it all in one swoop instead of having to start and stop and go back and forth a bunch of times. The thing to keep in mind is, I like to set an expectation with the client. As soon as you send them the very first proof, it's totally okay to say to them, okay, you get 2 rounds of edits, so please provide all of the edits you can now, and we'll make change, send you proof, and then have one more opportunity to make any other final changes. But let them know that the expectation is there's going to be 3 proofs, and then we expect it to be approved. So they get 2 opportunities to ask for changes. Help speed up the process. So if you really do have a campaign that is going to have to launch real quick, here are things that you can do to help us out. And we always will try to accommodate. We have to hustle for you, but these are some things that will really make a difference. But be as clear as you possibly can when you describe what the creative has to look like. Again, remember that our designers have no clue what you talk to your client about. So try to almost spell it out like you're to a baby. That's how I always try to think of it. Like, really be clear and redundant and repeat yourself, and try to make sure that anybody who just steps in and tries to create this email with no prior knowledge will be able to nail it the very first time. All requests at once. So if you can do this, it will immensely help us, especially if there's multiple people involved in the approval process. A lot of times when we send it to a client, they want their partner's approval and they have to send it to the manager, or maybe you also want your Cumulus sales manager to see it and approve it, or the DDE has to take a look at it and approve it. It's multiple people who all need to see it and weigh in, show it to all of them, and get everybody's feedback, and then send all the edit requests to us at the same time. Try to remember, the best campaigns will always include a strong offer or benefit, a clear call to action, agency. We always include the recipient's first name in the subject line. Creative that clearly and quickly expresses the brand or the event or the offer, literally in a matter of seconds. Get too wordy. Consumers don't like to read. If you can have creative where people don't actually have to read anything, they can just look at it and immediately tell what the is offering, that's the best case scenario. So try to avoid emails where it's very wordy, because customers will not gravitate towards that. And I encourage you to keep these things in mind, because if you do submit a campaign and you don't really have a strong offer and there's no call to action or a sense of urgency and the creative is kind of blah, we will push back on that. We will ask you to try to revisit this with your client to make improvements, which is a good thing in my opinion, because we're trying to offer advice on how to make sure the campaign performs, but it could slip by going back having that conversation with your client. So in order to speed things up, try to consider those things from the beginning. And that's honestly today. I wanted to keep this short and sweet because I know we're all very busy, but I hope this was helpful. If anybody had trouble hearing, I know Tiffany records these, so I'm sure we'll be able to send this over to you, and I'm happy to share this deck with anybody who needs it. Just let me know.
Yeah, I'm just going to post it, and then I'm sure there's going to be a few people that are going to reach out. I already have like 2 people I have to send it to. Audio is good on my end, so the recording should be good. Send me the deck as well so I can post it on Facebook, and then everything will be there if they want to send it to their AEs.
Awesome, guys. And again, great job. We're really psyched about all the activity. So keep it up and just let us know how we can help.
Thanks, Carolyn.